Why Rich Auntie Candles Aesthetics? How did
Initially, actually, the first name that I came up with was grandmother. That was the initial idea. I was brought up by my grandmother, so I'm very fond of that relationship, and I thought I wanted to have a brand that took to that. But the problem was there was a disconnect between the idea that I had, how I saw Rich Aunties in my mind, and the name that I came up with. So it just wasn't working. And then I then came back to who did I want to talk to actually? Who did I see the customer as? Who did I want to address? Who did I want to keep talking to? And then when I realized I wanted to talk to a very confident, empowered woman who loved beauty and aesthetics and was a go-getter, it just felt very natural.
Hi, welcome to the show. If this is your first time here or you are a returning listener or viewer and you haven't done so yet, hit the like and subscribe button down below. Be much appreciated. And of course, if you're very intrigued with regards to what's happening in the startup scene, definitely hit that like and subscribe button down below, and hope you look forward to the show. Welcome to another episode of Invite Growth. I'm your host, Brian. And of course, it's the podcast where we venture into the startup scene, startup world, and look at the movers and shakers which live within the space. And today I'm welcomed by Veliswa Tiya, the founder of Rich Aunties Esthetics. And today we're going to explore your journey, what it is like being as a founder within South Africa, what your struggles, what have you been through within that space. Just to kick things off, of course, I'd just like to give you the floor, introduce yourself and let the audience know who you are.
Okay. My name is Veliswa Tiya. I am the founder of Rich Aunties Esthetics. We're a Camden home company manufacturing and selling luxury scented candles and home accessories.
So with that, I would just like to take things all the way back before you started this idea. What was life like? Did you always know you wanted to be a founder? Were you in the corporate space? And did you give up on the corporate space? How did your journey start?
Well, my background is in retail. I was a planner for a little over 8 years. So I was in retail and working for some of the biggest retail fashion and home companies in the country. And come 2020, I was fortunately or unfortunately one of the many people that was retrenched. So I lost my job. And for a while, I didn't know what I wanted to do. But after some time, I realized that actually this is what I've always been hoping for in terms of having time to actually start the business. I always knew I was going to have a business. But I felt like life was saying it's not time. Yes.
Did you always know you wanted to start this business? Or was it something else you wanted to start?
No, I could say I knew that I was going to be in the homeware space, but I didn't know exactly what in homeware. And all my initial ideas were very large, and so there wasn't a way that I could start. And then I felt like the time that I had in that COVID period gave me a lot of time to figure out how to start in homeware. And then,
Yeah, and let's touch on the name. Like, how did that come up? How did your brainchild come up? Why Rich Auntie Candles Aesthetics? How did
initially, actually, the first name that I came up with was grandmother. That was the initial idea. I was brought up by my grandmother, so I'm very fond of that relationship, and I thought I wanted to have a brand that took to that. But the problem was there was a disconnect between the idea that I had, how I saw Rich Aunties in my mind, and the name that I came up with. So it just wasn't working. And then I then came back to who did I want to talk to actually? Who did I see the customer as? Who did I want to address? Who did I want to keep talking to? And then when I realized I wanted to talk to a very confident, empowered woman who loved beauty and aesthetics and was a go-getter, it just felt very natural to be around things that related to the home. And I think candles for me was the easiest way for me to start because, as I said before, a lot of I couldn't start for a long time doing anything because I couldn't figure out what was the easiest way to start. But so I felt like candles was the easiest way to start. I think I saw it online and I thought, and I honestly initially thought, oh, I want to be a millionaire. This is going to take forever. This is going to take forever. But But I soon realized that no, this is life showing me that this is the easy entryway. And I'd been a candle lover before, but I'd never thought of myself as a person who would start a business like that. And it just made sense that I wanted to be in the home space, and I couldn't figure out how to get into it. And candles just became an easy way to do that.
And the love of scent, if you make candles, you kind of have to have this variation of scents. How do you go about finding those scents? Is it something you've always been around that you're like, oh, I love this, maybe I can make it to a scent? Or if you smell something and you've been like, that could be a nice scent, how do you go about that process of creating the scents for this product?
I'm very inspired by Cape Town. I feel like Cape Town gives you a lot to work with, and I want the brand to be very Cape Town centric. And so one of our best selling scents is a candle called the Franjo, which is our very first wine inspired candle. How I came about that was I thought one of the easiest things to talk about in Cape Town is our wine roots, and I wanted a candle that kind of spoke to that in order to make the brand, obviously, as I said, very Cape Town centric. So I wanted a candle that could speak to that I could have a conversation about that with. And also with that being said, I also trade in the Franjo village market. So it felt very natural to do that. I think in terms of looking at scents, I look at Cape Town. I get a lot of inspiration from Cape Town, and just the environment, and also just my own favorite things that I like. I just also look at scents that I like and I try them. And sometimes I get a lot of communication from my customers and what they say is working and what they say they like. And I check it out and I see if I can make something that would kind of answer that call.
Yeah, and let's talk about the logistics of it all. Getting all this candles, these materials, how does that work within South Africa? Are you sourcing it from, let's say, China? Are you sourcing it locally? Or how do you go about finding your material?
I think being from Cape Town is a huge blessing. As also, a lot of things have changed, I noticed, post-COVID, in terms of suppliers being based all over SA, as opposed to be before, when suppliers for a lot of really valuable supplies would be only maybe available only in Joburg. Initially, when I was starting, a few good suppliers were only located in Joburg, and since then that's changed and they've expanded to Cape Town. So I don't think there's a huge challenge in terms of finding supplies in the environment that we are in right now, and the changes that have happened post COVID have been very helpful for small businesses, in my opinion. Yeah.
Do you feel like you've been affected with the whole, let's say, Trump of it all, the tariffs being added and the suppliers? Has that affected you at all?
Definitely. Everyone in business actually noticed it, even in the talks of Trump saying that they were going to be tariffs. I could see that my suppliers were already kind of buffering up for what it could possibly be. So we did have a price increase with that. And it was actually even Trump making the actual number announcement of what it was going to be. Because I think also, obviously, I know a lot about lead times. They had to kind of preempt what it could possibly be and make and factor in those prices into their selling prices. So it definitely did affect us. So there were price increases, but I don't think they're as dramatic as we also thought it would be. But of course, it has affected us. Yes, and there's, apart from that as well, tourism, it has affected that as well heavily. The American consumer is like buys a lot. It's a really consuming customer. Yeah. And so I've noticed that they haven't been traveling as much as they did last year and the year before. So that's been a negative impact as well. So it hasn't affected us only just from a price standpoint, it was also from a travel and tourism standpoint. For us, it has affected, yeah.
And do you feel like being in Cape Town, as you mentioned, the tourist aspect of it all, Cape Town has been known like the tourist hub of South Africa a little bit, somewhat being very controversial lately, and a lot of people being against the whole digital nomad, the movement of people coming in. Do you feel like being in Cape Town specifically for your luxury brand has been a positive when it was to the tourists coming in and buying your product? And overall, the whole negative aspect of it all that country's feeling or the people within What's the Cape theme? How has that affected your business?
For my business specifically, I think building a luxury brand and that brand being in Cape Town is just very positive. I think how Cape Town has positioned itself as is a very attractive brand. I feel like Cape Town has positioned itself as a brand and a brand that a lot of people want to experience, and then to build a luxury brand on top of that brand for me works very well, and it just makes the whole process a little bit more seamless. But I also do feel like we have so much opportunity to build different types of brand in Cape Town. I think the environment allows for so much difference. And I think in terms of everything else that is attracting, I don't know if it affects my business directly. I do know maybe at a personal level it might affect me, but for business wise, I don't think so. I don't think it affects me.
But you have quite a hands-on approach with regards to your products themselves. Can you really look at the engine room of it? How do you go about designing this candle? Because I know they need to be luxurious. How do you go about the designing part of these candles?
Well, I'm not just a creative person also, so I love testing and trying. And I think that's one of the reasons I really wanted to have my own business, because I wanted to explore the creativity, to explore if what I think makes sense. And so I design a lot of it just from my own thinking of what do I think is beautiful, what do I think is nice. And also, because of my background, I'm able to easily assess the environment and see where aspirational brands are and how do I want to communicate the brand versus where others are. And so I come up with a lot of it for myself, and I get a lot of inspiration from, I think, assessing the environment. Yeah. I've always wanted to be in a space where I can constantly assess, design, and kind of test. So I feel like my business allows for that. Yeah.
And do you sometimes apply some cultural aspect into your designs?
So I don't really feel like my designs are kind of very, I want to say African centric, or have the African centric design or patterns or colors. I don't really kind of input that into the business. I promise you, a lot of when you go to markets, I just feel like it's 90% that. It's 90% very African, the prints, straight, everything. I'm not that. I'm not that person. Not that I'm not obviously part of my culture and those things, but my brand is not that. I wanted to be a brand that kind of really represents what I like and what the customer that I want to talk to. I honestly feel like South Africa has a lot of brands that talk to culture and prints and being more Afrocentric and all those things. I think there's a space we should all exist. We don't really think we should all try and do the same thing. Yeah. So I've just kind of tried to play in my own space and let others focus on the prints and that whole space as well.
Yeah, I feel like that's the beauty of being in startup scene, where there's gaps within markets, and it's all about finding those gaps within those markets. And if you do find that gap, then there's an opportunity there. So I feel like you found an opportunity that speaks to you as well, which is kind of the thing you have to do. You want to start a startup. As a female founder specifically, how has that journey been for you, launching a luxury brand, being in South Africa, and the struggles of having a startup in South Africa? How has that experience been? What struggles have you experienced when you've initially started to what you're experiencing now? How different are those two things?
I think starting a business, for like in terms of ideation and registering, that process I don't think is very difficult. I think making something and then putting it out there is very hard, and hard from I think being at a personal level is very hard. But I don't think the South African environment makes it hard in itself. I think I really do think that our public sector is really trying to support small businesses. I think there's a lot of really good ideas that come from them that get watered down because of their long processes. So I definitely do think that our public sector is really trying to help. There's just their own processes get in the way of what they're trying to achieve. I think the private sector is more organized, in my opinion, in terms of trying to help entrepreneurs. If maybe there was a better collaboration and working together between the public and the private, I don't know what wonderful things that they could achieve. But I definitely think they're trying. Will there be people who say they don't see that? Of course, 100%. But I think I see them trying because I didn't even know that the help was there to begin with. I didn't have any expectation of anyone helping me. But now that I am in business and I see organizations that are there that are trying to work with the entrepreneur. And of course, there's still a lot of work that still needs to be done. But I'm coming from a place where I didn't even know there was any form of help. I didn't have any expectation of anyone helping me. So I will be a person who says I do see them trying to help and I do see them trying to work with you. And there's still a lot that has to be done to help us get there. But I do think the intent to help is.
So with your journey so far as a founder, every founder usually goes through that initial fear of failure, that initial fear of wanting to give up. Have you experienced that fear, and how did you initially go about tackling that fear within your early stages? And as you go, as you are now as well, has there been a moment that you're like, oh, I want to give up, this is not working? How did you tackle that?
Starting, definitely, I had lots of fear of kind of embarrassing myself, going out and doing this, embarrassing myself, and it being challenging and that. But what the blessing about the time that I started is that I already lost my job. And so, kind of I don't know how to put it, but I was in the position of what's there to lose? And you really have nothing to lose. And, you kind of experience what I kind of experienced like my biggest fear at that time, and the insecurity of being without a job. So I kind of felt like it really didn't make sense to fear anything at that. I experienced a great deal of fear, and I'd overcome it. So it's like you're already in pain, just keep going. Right. So it was kind of more that approach. And also I knew that I was going to have a business. Always knew that I was going to have a business. So it felt like allowing myself to be trapped in that fear was just an excuse. So like I was like, what are you talking? Like, it didn't make sense. Yeah. I didn't feel like I had a way out in my own mind to kind of allow me to not pursue the business. I don't feel like I had a way out.
And with that, did you have a community around you to like help you? What you said at the beginning, you really didn't know that there's help out there. Once you kind of got into the space, did you get and find a community within the space sort of scene to kind of help you, kind of guide you through the ins and outs of being a founder?
I got help. I could say maybe a little over a year after I started the business. Initially, it was just me just pushing. But luckily, I had approached a market that's close to where I'm based, and they had said that I could come and participate in that market. And I think in the early stages, just being in an environment with the other entrepreneurs, even though I didn't feel like they had the ambition that I had, but I just being around other people who were pursuing something was very encouraging. I think I can say that I got help and support from other entrepreneurs when I was growing in the types of markets that I was going to. And then I met more established entrepreneurs, and they kind of advised me. I think what was also cool, they were seeing how serious I took what I was doing, and they kind of advised me that I could do it this way, I could go to that person, So in terms of support, I can say that I got it just in the journey, on the road. I got the support and the community around me. Yeah.
So the most important thing about starting a startup or starting an idea is finding the customers. Like you could have a great idea, but if you don't have any customers, it's just an idea. How did you go about with regards to, you have an MVP now, it's a scandal company. How do you go about finding those customers in those initial, these are the people that do want this product. And if I do start this thing, they will buy this thing. How did that look like?
It's amazing how naive you are in the beginning stages, because in the beginning stages, I was truly forcing the people around me to buy. I was really forcing to buy, because also I wanted feedback, you know? So And at the time, I was not willing to give them away for free. I was forcing them to buy. So when they bought the candles and they didn't complain or didn't have any negative feedback, I thought, oh, okay, cool. Now let's go to markets. And I think the first market really validated my idea and validated that if I continued to invest myself in this, I could meet the customers that I actually wanted. Because initially, you're not going to initially find the customers that really speak to what you're trying to do, but you will have people who are interested and who are buying. And then as you progress and even also refine what you're doing, then you get the actual customers that you want. So the markets really helped in terms of me finding customers, validating what I thought what I was doing, and attracting everything that I've attracted thus far.
And you use a little of social media and let's say the Franjo markets. How do you go about utilizing those revenues to kind of build your brand?
I really enjoy being in markets because it gives me an opportunity to actually interact with the customer. I love the customer to experience my excitement about the brand, which I sometimes feel like I don't 100% communicate well through social media. So I love the markets because they give me an opportunity to interact and tell them where I see the brand going. Because I don't want to be on social media posting that, guys, in 5 years, you're going to be seeing this and this. But on a personal level, in market, I'm able to do that. I'm able to engage at a level that allows me to build a good relationship with my customer and tell them where I see the brand and get feedback from there and even get referrals from them. Like there's a lot of help that some customers will give you and support and to kind of affirm that they see where you're going and they also want to be with people that have supported you. So yeah. And social media, I really enjoy a lot. Also, there's a lot of feedback that you get from there. And I think what's also nice about social media versus in person is that in person, I'm only really dealing with a tourist customer as well as a Cape Town customer. But through social media, I'm able to see that I'm actually communicating the brand well enough that people in Joburg like what I'm doing, people in Durban like what I'm doing. So it's actually also a nice validation that you are moving from just being a Cape Town brand to international brand. So yeah, that's kind of social media. I hope I've answered.
Yeah. That's good. And you spoke about this, how social media gives you this validation of seeing, expanding the brand. How people, let's say in Joburg, Durban, see you and they're like, oh, we love what you're doing. How does this Untitled Club for you, that expansion outside of Cape Town, maybe the expansion outside South Africa? How ideally would that look like for you?
I think that would be very exciting. I think it would be very exciting. I think also because I do trade in markets that attract tourists, you will naturally have an appetite for an international customer because you experience it here. But I'm also not naive to think that just because they're excited about the brand when they're here, that they would have the same excitement once it's in their own country. So because obviously I've been now competing directly with the businesses in their own country. But it was very exciting for me. It's a very exciting thought, and I'd love to be international, to learn how to operate an international business, to be able to say that I compete at an international level, to have the Rich Aunties conversation at an international level. That would be very exciting. But of course, there's a lot of regulation that I would have to be part of to make that happen. But it's also nice about it's entrepreneurship. The journey is so nice about the entrepreneurs that you meet and that you interact with, and other entrepreneurs who started with basically nothing, same as myself, that have gone international. And they're also talking about the amount of work that goes into it, the regulation, the studying of an international customer, because obviously the behavior of a person when they're in your country is very different from the behavior they would have in their own country, and being able to study that and being able to adapt to the behaviors of customer in another environment, it would be very interesting and very exciting. The taking of the Rich Aunties energy international for me, that would be very exciting.
And with that, you touched on the legislation and how difficult that is. Let's just look at South Africa. how do you go about dealing with the logistics of moving the candles? Let's say I'm a customer jogger, I want to buy your product. How would I do that?
I think there's been so much improvement. I think there's been so much improvement in terms of our courier services, the courier service that I use. I was actually very impressed when I was buying things outside of Cape Town and how quickly that service was and how well it was organized. So I don't think it's, for me, I think we are at a good space in terms of delivery, but I definitely think we can improve a lot. Obviously, with where the world is in terms of how in the US, Amazon, you can order and receive same day.
Same day.
Yes. So me being excited about a 2-day delivery, and I'm sure overseas there, I think it's a joke. But I think I'm a person who I just appreciate when something is done right, and I can definitely see that it is going to improve because they're doing it right now. So the courier companies that we have, some of them I think are very good, and because they're very good, I do think they're going to improve. So the opportunity for us to improve it, to be better, and to say that we will have a system that delivers faster, I feel like it's inevitable. Yeah.
So the other thing that's very important for someone that's in the startup scene is this balance. A large balance of, I want to work on this thing, make it thrive and grow, but also you need to have a life on top of it too. What's some of your non-negotiables to balancing being a founder, running your business, and having a life as well? And how have you catered towards building that?
I so wish that I so much that I could say that I figured that out. It would be a lie. It would be a lie. I'm still heavily invested in the business. It would be a lie for me to say that I've found the perfect balance. I try and be physically active, but I don't really want to say that is really the balance that you are referring to. I'm still overly invested in the business energetically, mentally. I do know that at some point I will force myself to get into a balance, but I think the love and excitement that I have for the brand right now, I haven't really stressed about that balance. But I definitely do know that it is something that I will work into my work life. But for now, I'm heavily invested, and I can't say that I've figured out the work-life balance. It's not balancing. It's still moving, but it's still moving.
And sometimes do you find yourself, because I think this is one of those things where so talked a lot about this within the startup scene, it's that mental drain of running your own thing. How do you deal with that sometimes?
I talk to myself. I talk to myself. I talk to myself, and I try to explain to myself what is going on. No, that mental drain is very, very real. But I really do talk to myself, and I tell myself what is going on. And I tell myself what's going to continue to happen if I don't maybe take even just a day break or anything like that. But I talk to myself and try to explain to myself what's going on, and I also just pray about fatigue and the exhaustion. And and I ask for help as well from my family. They also try to help me when I'm feeling like, okay, I'm sinking right now. But I promise you, I truly believe in self-coaching. So I talk to myself in order to explain to myself what's going on, and in order for me to not feel all over the show, but to actually understand that I'm just overworking, and I need to force a break in, or I need to ask for help. But it's really real, and I cope with it by self-coaching and really praying for things to work so that I can get more help.
And when you started this journey, it was of course you started it initially like, there's nothing else I'm doing. I'm out of a job. Let me go straight on with this. What does it mean to you with regards to, let's say, 20 years from now, you've built this brand. What do you want to leave behind after you've established this brand, or maybe you've moved away from the brand and you started something else? How does that look like?
What do I want to leave behind? I want to leave behind a sense of inspiration about the brand. I want people who experience what the brand is about to be highly inspired, to be highly excited about themselves. And another thing that I'm very passionate about is the self, a person being honest with themselves and and leading themselves from their place of honesty. So I love the brand to also, not just, I'm getting sidetracked. But I love the brand to talk to empowerment, the person who's leading from whom they are. When the person says they're feeling down, they're feeling lacking motivation, lacking confidence. So when a person talks about the Rich Aunties brand, that they immediately become inspired. They even immediately feel like Rich Aunties is a good omen. I have that thing about me. I think I just want to leave that legacy of empowerment, inspiration, a sense of honesty with oneself, a sense of community. Another thing that I really want to build into the brand is a sense of communities. Communities of women leading, or communities of women empowering each other, supporting each other, uplifting each other in their communities and wherever they are in different spaces. But I'd love to kind of leave that type of legacy.
And with that, let's say there's someone out there, there's a Black female founder that's initially starting their journey, they want to start, but there's a block. What advice would you give to those individuals that have that block or have this idea, want to start a startup, but they don't know where to start?
I would first say a lot of the excuses that you currently have is fear. They're dressed up in practicality, dressed up in, dressed up in something called fear. And the sooner you start, the better. What I encourage you is not to feel that it's possible for perfection at day one or on day one. It's impossible. To be fine with the fact that you are scared, to be fine with the fact that you feel like you don't know what you're doing. I honestly, I didn't know what I was doing initially. That's how I felt anyway. But I liked the feeling of learning. I liked the feeling of doing something about what I wanted to do. So it's the sense or feeling of, I'm not sure what I'm doing. I'm scared. People are going to judge me. Those things are all normal. Work with it. Do the job anyway. Those things are all normal. Just do the job. Just get onto the actual doing something and starting something and putting it out there, and realizing as well that it's not going to, the idea also is kind of building itself as you are also building. So it could take a different direction, but as long as you put something concrete and do something about your idea.
So as we kind of reach the end, there's this one question I always ask people, was I'm most curious about it. If you go back and say to your younger self, what's that one advice you would give yourself?
What's the one advice I give myself?
So out of all of this journey you've been through, starting this business, what's that thing that your young self at the time where you're like still not aware where you're going to be, but you'd love for them to know now?
It really is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It really is going to happen. You really are going to be the person you want to be. You have, I think, it is really going to happen. You really will make it happen. Just ask for help, but you really can do it, and you really will.
Yeah. That's a nice way to end it. And the one more very important thing, if people want to find you, where do they do that?
We will be launching our website soon. Let me not say soon, we just say even next week. I feel like I keep saying that all the time. You will find us on www.richaunties.co.za, and we're also available on the socials on Instagram and Facebook. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Well, thanks for being here. I've quite enjoyed our conversation, and that is it from us. For us in the next episode of From Courage to Growth.
Thank you very much.